Hey everybody, this is Dave here at Pulp Alley, and we are getting set up to play our next game. Our next live game is going to be this Sunday at 10 a.m. I hope y'all will join us. Did you see our last one? We did a game last Sunday, and it's uploaded now, so you can go in there and check that out. If you haven't seen it, it's a lot of fun. Did you guys like that one? Let's follow up on that a little bit. So in the last one, the story is around this uprising on the planet Venus in 1888. Most of you are probably familiar with it already, but this is still very early in the uprising. So far our protagonists have not really discovered the sinister secret behind that uprising. So we'll kind of They'll learn that as they go along through this, possibly. Now, in the last scenario, the small group of Danish soldiers were defending a remote jungle mine outpost, and after they successfully defended it, right there at the end of the scenario, after the 6 turns were up. We imagine that a group of Drulans from the nearby garrison show up, and they drive off the remaining Skrulls that were still there, saving the outpost. Now the Drulans know that there was an uprising going on, and what about the other homesteads in the area, the other mines in the area? So now there has to be a little bit of investigating going on. And what they're going to do now is they're going to split up their force a little bit and kind of ride around and see if they can find out, if there are any other attacks going on. So that's what that garrison, the Drulans from the garrison are going to be doing. And of course, Myliki is going to accompany the group that is going to investigate a nearby ruined temple. Now, as Myliki and the others examine the survivors or the other Skrulls that were captured during the attack, they find that they have been branded with the symbol of the old death cult Ulatek. And now they're going to have to try to go to this nearby temple and find out, is something else going on? And when they arrive there, they find out, of course, that things have been getting put back together there, and more sinister activity as well. So that's where the next scenario leads us, is to the old deserted temple of Ulatek. Let's see. Let's take a look at the table, and let's talk about the terrain a little bit that we're going to be using for this scenario. So over here in front of the camera, you can see over here this really cool deadly plant over here. Now this thing, based on the rules of the game, the area around it actually causes a horror effect or a psychological effect for characters. So that's kind of an area that if you get into the spores, it can cause all kinds of damage. Now these are cool little pieces here, these moai here, and these are resin heads, and I don't know if you can tell that it's a moai head or not, but maybe you can kind of pick out some of the features there. And there's 2 of them. And then there's some that are put together. So this one's a little more obviously a moai, but I think when they're laying out there, sometimes they just kind of look like rock formations, and that's kind of cool as well. So a couple of resin pieces there. This is a scratch-built sacrificial totem sort of thing. The little chain I put on there, and the little cuffs and stuff are just pieces of brass that were cut to length and everything. And of course it's mounted on an old big washer there. These are resin pieces as well. These resin skull pieces are really cool. Heads on spikes. You got to have heads on spikes if you have a secret death cult in the area. You need some heads on spikes. Now a lot of the vegetation that you see out here is just stuff that I cobbled together myself with a hot glue gun, finding some appropriate sized vegetation or plastic stuff out at a local hobby store, like a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's or something like that. Some of this stuff is just various things that I throw in there. Nearly all of them you'll find have a skull on them because, you got to have a skull on there. These are just bristles from an old paintbrush here. There's some flocking in there. There's some, just different stuff. This weird little orangish thing, I don't even think that was painted. It's just something I found laying in the yard and stuck it in there. So you can have a lot of fun putting these together. And again, it's just mounted on an old metal washer with a hot glue gun. You can see that there's some sort of for sale sign or something underneath there that kind of covers up that hole from the top. So those are done in various sizes. So here's one that's quite a bit larger, and instead of a washer for this one, I mounted it on an old DVD or old CD. So yeah, that was a fun game. Anybody play Red Baron back in the day? That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. So same sort of thing here, just a bunch of that plastic vegetation kind of thrown in there. These trees are by Pegasus Hobbies, and I really, really like these. They have 3 different varieties of them. You have these here is one variety. You have these kind of short ones here, and then you have this variety here. So 3 different boxes that you can get of those, and I think I ended up getting about 2 boxes of each type, and I really like those. Pegasus Hobbies is who makes those. Really, really cool. There you can see that there's a little strange-looking statue back in there, can't you? Let's see, what else are we going to look at? Let's take a look at the temple here in the middle. Of course, this is nothing more than an aquarium piece from a pet store. You can find an awful lot of cool stuff if you go to pet stores and hunt around in their aquarium area. This thing would be, probably 2 or 3 times as much of it had been sold as a gaming piece of terrain. But if you go to your pet stores, you can find some fun stuff like that. There's just a whole wide variety of pet store stuff that is useful in gaming, tabletop gaming. I guess the embarrassing thing about this that I have to admit to is that I never did a darn thing to it. I bought it at the store and have started using it the same day, and I never once even took a brush to it. I always thought, I can put some washes on it and do some dry brushing, have my big plans, and then I go, you know what, good enough is good enough, and I just throw it out there and start playing with it. No big deal at all. Let's see, that is basically about the scope of the terrain. I have some rocks out here to use for cover and so on. I have some little pieces like this that are also scratch built. You see it's just kind of like a dead tree. There's a rock back in there, which is actually a rock, painted as a rock, and then some more of that foliage on there. So it gives you a nice small little piece of terrain just to block line of sight or give you some cover or whatever out there. There's some more of those cool little yellow bits that I found in the yard, whatever those are. Just threw them on there. And of course there's another skull. So several of these. Now I did recently get some more. I am planning to make some more of this sort of thing. Is that something that you guys would like a tutorial of? Let me know down in the comments below if you guys would like to see me put together some of these vegetation pieces. I'd like to know, and I'll see if I can do it. It's basically just hot gluing stuff to a base, just trying to make it look kind of interesting. It's not nearly as complicated as flower arranging or anything like that, but it's still fun. Hey, take a moment right now and make sure you hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, we would definitely appreciate it if you'd get subscribed to our little channel here. And that's it for now. I haven't got all of the details worked out for this scenario, so I'm not going to go through all of the stuff for the scenario yet. But this is going to be a lot of fun as the Danes come in to investigate, and that's kind of what this scenario is a little bit more about, investigating and finding out maybe what's been going on in the area. Now, of course, we know that the 1888 uprising really spread throughout most of the equatorial region. So this, of course, is still very early on and still kind of bubbling up here. and we'll have to see how quickly our Danes can figure out what's going on. All right, boys and girls, join us on Sunday for this, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.